Oh. Mike Henry, so who are you supporting? Let's go on to JLP politics. Who are you supporting in this leadership election?
In the JLP, I had a constituency conference at the weekend. Previously, I had announced that the delegates of the Jamaica Labour Party, based on the treatment meted out to the constituency, that we had boycotted most activity of the JLP. I had sent my own position very clear. And in that context, the delegates decided, when we reconvened, once there was an announcement of a challenge, the delegates decided to meet. We met as an executive. We decided to participate fully in what the party had to do. And in that context, they decided that they would support Audley Shaw. I have made my position very clear that we're their party, so you must make the choice. If you make your choice, we must remember we have to come together as a party. And I think I came a little bit of kudos that we had Purnell on our platform who supports Andrew, and we had Audley on the platform.
Okay, so hold on. So the delegates at that executive meeting said they were going with Audley Shaw, and you personally?
And I personally am supporting Audley Shaw.
This meeting was when?
Sunday gone.
Sunday gone.
See, we follow fully the constitution of the party. So you must remember my history and where it goes back from when I challenged Edward Seaga. Thought it was his time to go. And therefore I advocated term limits, power of recall, entrenching of branches, general secretary that has a position in cabinet. All of these were the platform I challenged Edward Seaga on. So in a sense it was accepted by the party. But when Bruce returned, I equally spoke with him, and he agreed to term limits. Now in that context, that's why I think I told Andrew and I told the party we should never have called an election when we did. We were not ready. We should have extended our time. We should have probably looked at local government. I was then chairman, over government. I had told Bruce before he left that he should stay and serve out the term limits, right? And stretch his time as Prime Minister all into his second term, and I feel strongly he would have been able to hold his own, if not win.
You think so?
Oh yeah.
What was his view when you told him that he should have stayed on?
I think what he said to me at one stage was that the campaign would end up just being manat, manat, manat. And therefore people wouldn't focus on what we had achieved or what we were able to do.
Okay.
And therefore he felt that it would not be fair to the party. I advised him that the term limits, the transition, was important for the party.
Hold that point, please, Mike Henry. When we come back from this break, we're going to continue our discussion about JLP internal matters. So Mike Henry is saying he and his delegates are going with Audley Shaw in this one. Let's see how that one how that one swings the pendulums one way or the other on this election, November 10. When we come back, more discussions here. All right, lots to talk about in this segment. It's our concluding segment. Mike Henry is our guest, Member of Parliament for Central Clarendon, former JLP chairman. In that capacity, he's speaking with us about the current JLP leadership race. He's saying that he and his delegates have decided on Sunday that they'd go with Audley Shaw, who is challenging Andrew Holness. Why was this decision taken? What were the factors which led the delegates and yourself to say you're supporting Audley?
The factors that led the delegates to begin was that they had waited almost 2 years for the party to respond to their request.
Which request? What was that request?
That request related very strongly and passionately to their feeling that when the leader said that he had agonized and could not find anywhere for me to serve.
In the shadow cabinet?
No.
What?
Please. Shadow cabinet is the prerequisite of a leader and a prime minister. Anywhere to serve, that means neither as, other than maybe as trustee, that means not as deputy leader, not as chairman. It means a lot of things. So that basically they needed that explained to them. And they waited for that to be explained to them. And indeed, I waited on that to be explained, because indeed people vote for you with the hope that you have somewhere to go. And I'm very anxious to get back into transport overall.
So you want a ministry? You want to go back in the government?
No, I'm very happy. I'm very anxious to see.
So it's sour grapes.
No.
It's sour grapes on the part of yourself and the delegates. Because Mr. Holness didn't get back to you.
right? And
Not
who, is,
quite.
and who hasn't earned some respect. So I don't have any sour grapes, because in essence and in fact, what I'm saying is, why I'm here or in Jamaica is to make sure the projects which we lost 2 years on, and the benefit of whatever knowledge or vision I have, can be involved in the situation. It doesn't have to be in a ministry. So let's not play the media game in that respect.
All right, so you're saying that the meeting focused on, one, they were upset and disgruntled that Mr. Holness never explained to them why there was no position for you.
That's correct. Yeah.
Was that the only decision, or was that the only factor, or were there other things?
That was a main factor for
main
them.
factor.
Because remember, you know, that the things that took place, they requested, right, that they be met with. And that's a request coming from a constituency that registers every March, that has the third or fourth largest number of delegates, has never been lost for 34 years, so they felt that they were not treated with the respect that they were due.
All right, and March is the original deadline for the registration of delegates, based on your constitution, the party.
Based on the constitution, and only 15 were registered.
By March, yes. All right, so didn't they focus on, wasn't there any discussion about the winnability of candidates and stacking up both candidates against each other? That was not discussed?
Oh, that was discussed.
So what was the conclusion?
And remember, against the background of what they would have known, right, in respect of my advice to the party on not running an election, right, against all of these issues, and against the factor that they would know more of Audley than they would of Andrew in the same area council, etc. And they felt that he had the better approach to running an election, and therefore they made that decision.
It's highly unlikely you would have supported Andrew Holness. This is a leader who, I mean, relieved you of a ministerial position, Minister of Transport and Works over the JDIP matter.
He didn't relieve me.
Okay,
I
you
resigned that he could go ahead with a forensic audit that he had ordered.
All right, but he
No,
would
it
have...
can't be all right. It's a very principled position that you couldn't sit there while an audit was taking place.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
So you left from the position as Minister of Transport and Works. You never got a shadow minister position in the shadow cabinet. So many persons look on it. I mean, you weren't at the meeting of MPs or of the parliamentary majority who endorsed Andrew Holness to succeed.
Even though I was chairman, I was not in.
Yeah, you were not there. You took a decision not to go there because you said that.
As chairman, I wouldn't have gone, but I wasn't consulted on it.
Okay, fine. So many persons look on and say it's highly unlikely you would have supported Andrew Holness.
Well, whether it's likely or unlikely or highly unlikely, that's a matter of interpretation. As far as I'm concerned, and as far as my approach is concerned, because equal in terms of and I'm not going to go into it in terms of that, because the reality is we're all Labour Party supporters, and when you're finished, you have to pull it all together. So yes, you've spoken to things that one's human nature would respond to. You have spoken of things that would hurt people outside of the immediacy of your own supporters and family. So in a sense and in fact, let's now move on. And if you're asking me who I think is more able to interpret the political and be astute politically, to be able to implement, to be able to relate, to be able to not ignore, then obviously if we have made a choice, we have made it on the basis of much of our interpretation. That does not take away anything from the other candidate in any way.
What do you think is Andrew Holness?
It's better you would ask me as to whether if he won. No, it'd be better if you asked me. If he won, would I give him or the party full support?
We haven't reached there yet. What do you think is Andrew Holness's weakness?
Why haven't reached there?
No, we'll get there. What do you think is Andrew Holness's greatest weakness?
Greatest weakness?
Yes.
I think part of it may have been experience. But as I said again, I'm not going to make that statement while the campaign is on.
What do you think is Audley Shaw's strength, the greatest strength in this campaign?
I think that he has been more known to the public, more forceful with the public. But again, I'm not making
some persons say it's Ray.
That is the delegates' position, because I do not say that some of the blame for one doesn't rub off on the other based on leadership.
Some persons say that's Ray. You're saying forceful means Ray. What do you think of that?
No. I think that all of that I wouldn't get involved in. Because I could say to you that perhaps the PNP governs continuously in decline. Therefore, they create more poor people that they can have more people to love while the country is suffering, right? And they pay poor cousins politics. And that's where I want to focus. Because once I win power, we should never lose power if we're serving the people.
Are you upset that your advice to Andrew Holness not to have called election in December?
Of course I must be upset.
You're upset?
I must be upset. How can we, look at what we're facing with Goat Island and with other projects. Right? Andrew in his campaign promised Vernon Field. So basically overall, I must be upset if I think that there are programs and issues that can resolve and reduce the level of hunger, the level of lack of opportunities in the society. And every day counts, every month counts, and we are not able to have capitalized on it. Therefore, Jamaica is my overriding position. That is why I still bring all the investors that relate and will expand or continue to preach Vernon Field and or continue. Please remember, I was asked by the Minister of Trade and Industry to discuss things with him, and I have done it. And to the extent to which I can help, I'm willing to help. Everyone knows that. I have reminded the public that it was in 2007 that Prime Minister Portia Simpson-Miller asked me to revive Vernon Field. In my column, on my article, I said she should bring all of these development under one umbrella.
So coming back to you,
I'm not tied into petty politics.
Yeah, but coming back, Mr. Henry, so you're upset, you're saying. Do you think that delaying the calling of an election from December 29, 2011 would have made the chances of the JLP better?
Certainly.
How so?
What do you mean?
How so? How would it have, what would have happened that would have made it different?
Made it different?
Yes.
Would you like me to change to what the party had done in the time frame and certainly what the ministry had done in the short period?
No, you don't have to go into details. We have practically about 2 minutes.
No, but the point is, our programs had not yet been evolved. They had not yet been put on the ground. Please remember, after we lost, the Rio Grande Bridge was open, the Christiana Development Road was open, 156 projects completed on the JDIP, nearly 130 were completed. They have been opened silently. 1B1 highway to Maypen was not opened officially in any way. It was all after we lost the election. So that I said all of our achievements were on the ground, were not put forward as part of the political campaign.
So who did Mr. Holness listen to then, if not you?
I think I mentioned in my book that I don't know what the hidden hand is. I don't know who was giving advice. So you would have to go and read the book in which I clearly have put some of my thoughts or my speculations on.
All right, but before, all right, I mean,
so, you know,
before you read the book.
So no, I don't have to read it. It's there. Yeah.
So what happened? I mean, if you're saying, I mean, wouldn't other persons in the party
No,
have known
you must
this?
remember what
Wouldn't
happened.
other persons in the party have known this, that the projects hadn't come to fruition yet or had been in progress and, you know, you could have capitalized on it? Wouldn't other persons have known this? So what happened then?
Okay. I can't tell you. You must remember, you know, leading up to the announcement of the elections, I was not the minister.
So you were chairman?
I had resigned. I was chairman, but as I said, I was bypassed in the structure of the discussions.
I see. They sidelined you?
Basically, I could say that, maybe.
One last thing. So what if Andrew Holness wins? What's the future for Mike Henry in the party?
That you'd have to ask, because we are still waiting to hear on some things. As far as Mike Henry is concerned, I have, and again I'll have to return, I am dealing with development in the constituency, regardless of who is running and who is winning, regardless of which government, even though they've just cut a major portion of a road that should have started in Maypen. I have been through these vicissitudes. I am dealing with an integrated social development plan. And one of the saddest points that I have is the rural-urban transport plan.
Okay, so you'd focus on the constituency, whoever
So
wins.
constituency around intellectual property rights.
Okay.
Using sports, entertainment, etc., and beginning to develop a whole new model of production centers from community centers.
All right. Do you think, what do you make of the chances? I mean, you're supporting Audley Shaw. What do you make of Audley Shaw's chances? Last question.
It's as good as anybody else's.
Oh, that's a diplomatic answer. That's political. It's as good as anybody else's, you're saying?
No, it's as good as anybody else. I think
Do you expect him to win?
I expect him to win.
You expect him to win? How many delegates are in your constituency?
113.
And they're all supporting Audley Shaw?
My delegates have said they're all supporting. I don't go any further than that.
All right, thanks so much, Mike Henry. It has been great talking with you about the logistics hub, his idea of a multimodal transport system which links land, sea, and air, and rail as well. He's also saying that, look, he feels upset that his advice to Andrew Holness about not calling the election in December 2011 was not followed. And he says the party could have changed its fortunes at the polls had that advice been accepted. When we come back next week, we're going to talk about another issue of current and topical interest and importance to you. This has been Direct for now. It's CVM Television's Current Affairs program. Thanks so much for having joined us. The discussion continues online, direct at CVM.